Tonight, we will tell you a story not of pharaohs or pyramids, but of a humble bulb that was revered in ancient Egypt like few other foods, the onion. You will discover why this simple plant was a daily staple for everyone, from the lowliest laborer to the mightiest king. We will explore how it provided strength, healed the sick, and even served as a profound symbol of life, death, and eternity. You will learn why it was offered to the gods and placed in the tombs of the departed, and how its legacy continues to echo through history. Oh, and if you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. It truly helps us to continue creating them for you. All right, find a comfortable spot, settle in, and let us begin. The story of the onion in ancient Egypt is not merely about food. It is about the very fabric of their existence, woven into their daily lives, their beliefs, and their understanding of the world around them. Tonight, we journey back to a land cradled by the mighty Nile, a civilization that mastered the art of building monuments that touched the sky and writing stories that spanned millennia. Yet, amidst the grandeur of pharaohs and the mystique of gods, a far humbler element held an equally profound place in the daily existence of the ancient Egyptians, the onion. This simple, layered bulb, often dismissed in modern times as a mere culinary ingredient, was for them a foundational pillar of life, deeply interwoven into the very fabric of their society, their economy, their health, and their spiritual understanding, far exceeding the role of simple sustenance. Its importance was not just a matter of taste or convenience. It was a deeply ingrained cultural reality. Imagine, if you will, the bustling scene of ancient Egypt. From the sun-drenched fields, where the dark, rich soil, generously nourished by the annual inundation of the Nile, yielded abundant harvests, to the vibrant marketplaces echoing with the calls of vendors and the murmur of daily commerce, the onion was an ever-present fixture. Its cultivation was not a minor agricultural pursuit, but a highly significant and widespread activity. Farmers, with their deep knowledge of the land and its intricate rhythms, carefully tended to vast tracts of land dedicated specifically to growing this resilient plant. They understood its life cycle, from the careful planting of the small sets to the arduous harvesting of the mature, pungent bulbs, recognizing its invaluable contribution to the kingdom's food security and overall well-being. This meticulous cultivation ensured a steady and reliable supply of a food source that was both remarkably nutritious and exceptionally easy to store for extended periods, a crucial advantage in a time before sophisticated preservation methods. Dried onions, often strung together and hung in cool, dark storerooms, provided a reliable staple during leaner seasons, or for those embarking on long journeys, from arduous trade expeditions across deserts to extensive military campaigns. This inherent resilience and ease of preservation made the onion an indispensable component of their agricultural system. The onion's presence was so ancient and so fundamental that it predates many of the iconic symbols we associate with Egypt today. Its history stretches back to the earliest dynastic periods, documented in some of the oldest surviving texts and artistic depictions, suggesting that its use was not a fleeting discovery, but an inherited tradition, a practice seamlessly passed down through countless generations. It was a food that transcended all social boundaries, equally accessible and profoundly valued by the sun-baked laborer toiling in the fields, the skilled artisan meticulously crafting intricate artifacts for the elite, the learned scribe diligently recording history on papyrus, and even the most revered high priest officiating in grand temples. It was a truly democratic food, available to all, providing essential energy for the demanding physical tasks that defined much of ancient Egyptian life, from quarrying massive stones to constructing monumental temples and irrigating vast agricultural lands. The very act of preparing and consuming onions was a daily ritual for millions, a small but significant part of the rhythm and continuity of their lives, deeply ingrained in their collective consciousness. But the Egyptians saw far more than just calories and fiber in this humble bulb. Their understanding of the onion extended profoundly beyond its mere nutritional content. They perceived it as a concentrated source of powerful vitality, a potent shield against illness and disease, and even a mystical link to the intricate mysteries of life, death, and rebirth. Its unique structure, with its perfectly formed concentric layers, held deep symbolic meaning for them, representing concepts like eternity, the cyclical nature of existence, and the infinite cosmos itself. This profound symbolism elevated the onion from a simple foodstuff to an object of genuine reverence and significant spiritual importance, often associated with concepts of renewal and eternal life. The sharp, invigorating taste and crisp, layered texture were not just sensory experiences. They were viewed as embodying the very essence of resilience, purity, and enduring strength, qualities they admired and sought to integrate into their own lives. The onion, therefore, was a silent, yet immensely powerful partner in their long journey through life. It was a profound testament to their practical ingenuity, their deep connection to the natural world, and their holistic, almost spiritual, approach to health and well-being. Its vibrant green leaves reaching skyward as if in silent prayer, and its firm bulb, firmly rooted in the nourishing earth, were seen as a profound bridge between the earthly realm and the celestial. This seemingly unassuming plant, so often overlooked in our contemporary narratives of ancient civilizations, held a unique and revered status in their cosmology and daily practices. It was an indispensable ingredient in every kitchen, a trusted remedy in every home, and a powerful symbol in every sacred temple. Its story is, in essence, a narrative of the everyday life of ancient Egypt, a saga often overshadowed by the magnificent tales of kings and gods, but one that truly reveals the enduring essence of a people who built an unparalleled civilization on the fertile banks of the Nile. The onion's deep roots in Egyptian culture were not merely a matter of convenience or pleasant taste. They were the culmination of millennia of astute observation, practical experience, and an intuitive, almost sacred understanding of its profound and multifaceted properties. The pungent aroma, sharp and distinctive, was part of the very air of ancient Egypt, a ubiquitous scent of home, of health, and of enduring vitality. It was cultivated with great care in the rich, dark soil left behind by the annual flooding of the Nile, thriving under the generous Egyptian sun, a testament to its adaptability and the dedication of its cultivators. This widespread cultivation meant that it contributed substantially to the economy and the food security of the entire kingdom, forming a crucial part of the agricultural backbone that supported their vast population and ambitious projects. The very act of growing and consuming this versatile vegetable was imbued with layers of meaning, a daily ritual that connected the people to the land, to their ancient traditions, and to the fundamental forces of life itself. In essence, for the ancient Egyptians, the onion was not just a food item, it was life itself, in its most accessible, resilient, and enduring form, a constant companion on their long journey through time, a quiet but truly powerful force that sustained a civilization for thousands of years. The humble onion, so deeply woven into the fabric of daily life, extended its reach far beyond a simple dietary preference. It became an indispensable cornerstone for the vast majority of ancient Egyptians, particularly the laborers whose relentless toil literally built a civilization. Imagine, if you will, the lives of these men and women who shaped the very landscape of ancient Egypt. Their days were defined by monumental effort under a relentless sun, their bodies perpetually engaged in tasks that demanded extraordinary physical endurance. These were the farmers, their backs bent over the fertile black soil of the Nile Delta, cultivating the grains and vegetables that fed the nation. They were the quarrymen, far from the river's life-giving embrace, chipping away at stubborn rock in distant, desolate cliffs, their tools ringing against stone, day after arduous day. And they were the builders, the countless legions who hauled, lifted, and positioned the colossal blocks of limestone and granite that would become the pyramids of Giza, the soaring columns of Karnak, or the intricate passages of the Valley of the Kings. For these individuals, whose existence was a testament to sheer human resolve, food was not merely about flavor or culinary delight. It was fundamental fuel. It was the absolute necessity that enabled them to perform tasks of immense scale and duration. Without a steady, reliable source of energy, the very foundations of their society, built on vast agricultural output and unparalleled construction, would have crumbled. And in this demanding context, the onion emerged as a hero of the daily diet, alongside the ubiquitous bread made from emmer wheat and the nourishing, low-alcohol beer brewed from barley. These three staples formed the trinity of sustenance for the working class, a triumvirate of practicality, affordability, and vital energy. The onion, in its unassuming layered form, was a true powerhouse of nutrition for its time. It provided a remarkably steady and sustained release of energy, a critical attribute for individuals engaged in prolonged, high-intensity physical activity. It was naturally rich in essential sugars, which the body could quickly convert into the immediate bursts of strength required for lifting heavy loads or wielding tools with force. Yet, it also contained complex carbohydrates, which provided a more gradual and sustained supply of energy, preventing the sudden drops in stamina that could derail a day's work. Picture a quarryman, perhaps near the quarries of Tura, feeling the intense midday heat radiating from the pale stone, his muscles aching from hours of chiseling. A simple midday meal, often consisting of a piece of coarse bread, a measure of beer, and a raw, pungent onion, was not just about sating hunger. It was a deliberate act of replenishing his body's reserves, allowing him to return to his arduous task with renewed, if not boundless, vigor, pushing through the fatigue until the sun dipped below the horizon. Beyond its immediate energy-boosting properties, the ancient Egyptians, though lacking our modern scientific understanding of vitamins and minerals, instinctively recognized that the onion offered something more profound. There was an observable correlation between regular onion consumption and a notable increase in stamina and a more robust resistance to the common ailments that perpetually threatened large groups of people living and working in close proximity. In an environment where sanitation was rudimentary, where physical strain was extreme, and where infectious diseases could sweep through a labor camp with devastating speed, any natural fortifier was invaluable. The onion seemed to act as a preventative measure, helping to ward off debilitating fatigue, reducing the frequency of illness, and allowing workers to maintain their strength and productivity. It was, in essence, a natural tonic, a daily dose of wellness delivered in the most accessible form. The sheer practicality of the onion further cemented its indispensable status. It was a crop that thrived in the fertile silt of the Nile Valley, easily cultivated in simple household gardens or in the larger agricultural plots managed by the state. Once harvested, its thick protective layers allowed it to be stored for extended periods without the need for refrigeration, a crucial advantage in the hot, arid Egyptian climate. This inherent durability meant that onions could be transported long distances to remote work sites, such as the desolate gold mines in the eastern desert, or the sprawling temporary construction cities that sprang up around the pyramid sites. Workers could carry their onions with them, confident that they possessed a reliable source of sustenance that would not spoil quickly, a portable, nutrient-dense ration that was always available. It served as a kind of ancient energy bar, universally accessible and remarkably resilient. Consider the immense logistical challenge of feeding tens of thousands of laborers engaged in projects like the construction of the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Such an undertaking required an incredibly efficient and dependable food supply system. The onion fit seamlessly into this monumental logistical puzzle. It was a low-cost, high-yield crop that could be cultivated on a truly massive scale, ensuring a consistent supply to support an enormous workforce. Its contribution to the overall caloric intake necessary to move millions of tons of stone was immense, often underestimated in modern accounts. Without such readily available, nutrient-dense, and easily storable foods, the sheer physical output required to shape the landscape with such monumental ambition would have been utterly impossible. The onion was not simply a food item, it was a silent, yet absolutely critical cornerstone of their civilization's productive capacity, an unsung hero in the story of their colossal achievements. Moreover, the distinct pungency and sharp flavor of the onion, while strong to our modern palates, served a valuable purpose in the ancient Egyptian diet. For a culinary regimen often dominated by plain grain products, simple bread and beer, the sharp bite of an onion added a welcome zest, transforming otherwise monotonous meals into something more palatable and perhaps even more satisfying. It was not just about raw calories. It was about the experience of eating, however humble. A well-placed onion could elevate a plain piece of bread, providing a moment of sensory pleasure and taste amidst a day of relentless physical labor. It broke the monotony, making the act of eating a brief respite rather than merely a duty. Furthermore, in the scorching heat of Egypt, maintaining adequate hydration was a constant and pressing challenge for anyone engaged in outdoor labor. Onions, with their relatively high water content, contributed significantly to the overall fluid intake of the workers, helping to mitigate the insidious effects of dehydration. While perhaps a minor detail when viewed in isolation, in an environment where every drop of water was precious and sweat was a constant companion, every source of fluid, no matter how small, was valuable in preserving the health and efficiency of the workforce. It was another subtle way the onion supported the rigorous demands placed upon the laboring body. So, when you consider the life of an ancient Egyptian laborer, toiling under the searing sun, moving mountains of stone, or cultivating vast fields of grain, you must understand that the onion was far more than just a common vegetable. It was a daily companion, a source of unwavering strength, a shield against illness, and a silent, yet profoundly significant contributor to the very foundations of one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. It fueled their bodies, allowing them to endure the most demanding tasks, transforming raw human effort into timeless monuments. It was, in essence, the powerful yet unseen engine of their labor, enabling an entire society to rise from the desert sands. But the onion's value stretched far beyond simply fueling the body for physical labor, transcending its role as mere sustenance to become a deeply integrated part of their approach to well-being. Its true power, the Egyptians believed, lay in its remarkable medicinal properties, transforming it into a cornerstone of their ancient pharmacopoeia. For these keen observers of nature and the human body, the onion was not merely a foodstuff. It was a potent remedy, a natural shield against the many ailments that could afflict a person in the harsh environment of the Nile Valley. They recognized its inherent qualities, perhaps noting its pungent aroma that seemed to clear the senses, its ability to bring tears to the eyes, a sign, perhaps, of its purifying action, or the warming sensation it seemed to generate within the body after consumption. These empirical observations, combined with centuries of accumulated knowledge passed down through generations of healers and families, solidified the onion's reputation as a versatile and profoundly effective healer. Its presence in their daily diet was, in effect, a continuous act of preventative medicine, a constant warding off of illness. The ancient Egyptians utilized onions to combat a wide array of common illnesses, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of their environment and the threats it posed to health. If you, as an ancient Egyptian, suffered from a persistent cough that rattled your chest, a deep chest congestion that made breathing difficult, or a fever that burned through your body with relentless intensity, the onion was often among the first treatments prescribed. It was believed to possess expectorant properties, helping to clear respiratory passages, reduce inflammation in the throat and lungs, and even effectively lower body temperature, providing relief from the oppressive heat of illness. For a raw sore throat, a preparation involving finely minced onion mixed with soothing honey might be gargled, or a warm infusion of onion steeped in water might be slowly sipped, the warmth and pungency believed to soothe the irritated tissues. For the pervasive issue of digestive complaints, which were remarkably common given the reliance on grain-based diets, the often primitive sanitation conditions, and the presence of parasites, the onion was a trusted and indispensable ally. It was used to alleviate the discomfort of constipation, to soothe upset stomachs, and remarkably, even to expel intestinal worms, a widespread and debilitating problem in ancient societies. The pungent bulb was thought to cleanse the internal organs, purifying the entire digestive system and restoring a vital internal balance, ensuring the body could properly assimilate nutrients and eliminate waste. Beyond internal complaints, the onion found extensive and crucial use in external applications, showcasing the Egyptians' holistic approach to health. For skin ailments such as painful boils, festering abscesses, or infected wounds resulting from daily labor or conflict, a poultice made from freshly crushed onions was applied directly to the affected area. The Egyptians understood, through keen practical experience, that the onion possessed powerful antiseptic and anti-inflammatory qualities, helping to prevent the spread of infection, draw out impurities, and promote the rapid healing of damaged tissues. They might have observed how wounds treated with onion preparations seemed to fester less, how swelling reduced, and how the healing process appeared to accelerate compared to untreated injuries. This simple yet incredibly vital, readily available plant was a cornerstone component in their wound care, preventing minor cuts and abrasions from escalating into life-threatening infections in an era without modern antibiotics. Even the dangerous bites of venomous creatures, like the scorpions that lurked in the desert sands or the snakes found near the riverbanks, were sometimes treated with onion poultices, used to draw out the venom and reduce the agonizing swelling, though the efficacy against truly potent venoms would, of course, have varied. The onion was universally seen as a versatile ingredient, applied both internally as a nourishing food and externally as a powerful medicine, a profound testament to its perceived efficacy and indispensable role in maintaining health. The knowledge of these extensive medicinal uses was not merely anecdotal folk wisdom passed through whispers. It was systematized, recorded, and integrated into the formal medical science of the time. Ancient medical papyri, such as the renowned Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest and most comprehensive medical texts to survive from ancient Egypt, contain numerous detailed recipes and precise prescriptions specifically featuring onions. These invaluable texts, meticulously inscribed thousands of years ago, meticulously detail how onions were to be prepared, whether raw, cooked, or macerated, and how they were to be administered for specific conditions. You might, for example, find instructions for mixing fresh onion juice with soothing honey to create an effective cough syrup, or for grinding dried onion with other curative herbs to create a potent balm for external application. This formal documentation, preserved on papyrus scrolls, profoundly underscores the onion's established and respected place within the sophisticated medical practices of the time. Physicians and healers, who were highly respected members of society and often trained rigorously, regularly incorporated onions into their treatments, affirming its efficacy and importance in their therapeutic arsenal. The widespread and consistent use of onions for medicinal purposes also profoundly highlights the Egyptians' pragmatic and preventative approach to health. They relied on what was abundant, demonstrably effective through observation, and understood through generations of empirical knowledge. The onion was not a rare luxury reserved for the elite. It was an accessible staple, within reach of everyone, from the lowliest field farmer to the most skilled artisan, from the busy pyramid builder to the noble scribe. This universal accessibility meant that basic health maintenance and the immediate treatment of common ailments were within practical reach for the general populace, reducing the impact of illness on the workforce and daily life. Daily consumption of onions, therefore, served a powerful dual purpose, providing essential nutrients for sustained physical endurance during arduous labor and simultaneously acting as a continuous, subtle form of preventative medicine, strengthening the body's natural defenses against the myriad diseases that plagued ancient communities. It was a daily dose of wellness, seamlessly built into the very fabric of their lives, a silent guardian of their health and vitality. The onion was not just present in their diet, it was actively working within their bodies, striving to keep them resilient against the many environmental and biological challenges of their ancient world, an unsung hero of their well-being, silently supporting them through the ebb and flow of their demanding lives. It was an essential part of their physical and biological understanding of human existence, a natural gift, constantly at work within their systems, purifying and fortifying. This humble bulb was understood to be a profound source of vitality, not merely for momentary bursts of energy, but for sustained health and robust protection against the unseen threats of disease and decay. Its regular presence in virtually every meal was, in a sense, an unwritten ritual of self-preservation, a daily affirmation of life, ensuring the body was always prepared, always fortified against the relentless assaults of illness. The very act of eating an onion was, in a profound sense, an act of healing, a continuous reinforcement of the body's natural defenses and a contribution to its longevity. The ancient Egyptians, through their deep and practical connection with the natural world, recognized and harnessed this power, integrating it seamlessly into their daily routines, making the onion not just a food, but a fundamental component of their holistic approach to health and longevity, safeguarding their bodies against the rigors of their existence, ensuring that even the humblest among them could possess a measure of inherent strength and resilience. It was a very powerful testament to their practical wisdom, observing the properties of nature and applying them for the betterment of their lives, making the onion an indispensable part of their survival and flourishing for millennia. The onion's journey through ancient Egypt was not limited to the physical realm of sustenance or healing, as you have heard. Its significance transcended the purely practical, ascending into the spiritual heart of their civilization, touching upon their deepest beliefs about existence itself. For the Egyptians, the onion was not merely a plant that provided food or medicine. It was a profound symbol, deeply interwoven with their understanding of life, death, and the eternal cycle of existence, a concept that shaped their entire worldview. You see, the ancient Egyptians were keen observers of the natural world around them, finding profound meaning and divine order in every form and pattern they encountered. They believed that the divine was present in the mundane and that even the simplest elements of nature could reveal universal truths. It was in this spirit that they contemplated the humble onion. When an onion is sliced, it reveals a remarkable and intricate internal structure, a series of concentric rings, layers upon layers, each one seemingly emerging from the last, yet all connected to a central core. This simple, natural geometry, endlessly repeating, yet always unique, held immense symbolic power for them. It represented nothing less than the very essence of eternity, the continuous cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a concept that was absolutely central to their religious beliefs and their vision of the cosmos. These endless interconnected layers of the onion mirrored for them the intricate journey of the soul, which they believed did not simply cease to exist with the body's passing, but rather transitioned through various stages, much like the subtle, successive layers of an onion unfolding. Each ring, in this profound visual metaphor, could be seen as a different phase of existence, a new beginning emerging organically from an old one, leading ultimately to a renewed and perfected state in the afterlife. This tangible, everyday visual provided a comforting and deeply understood representation of their unwavering belief in an enduring spirit and the sacred possibility of resurrection, a cornerstone of their hopes for beyond this earthly life. The symbolism of the onion extended far beyond individual existence, expanding to encompass the very fabric of the cosmos itself. The concentric rings were interpreted as a grand representation of the universe, with its various layers of creation, from the tangible, earthly realm where mortals lived to the distant, luminous, celestial spheres where the powerful gods resided and enacted their divine will. It was a microcosm of the macrocosm, a small, humble bulb containing within its quiet form the grand, ordered design of the entire universe. This profound understanding imbued the onion with a deeply sacred quality, elevating it from a simple, earthy food item to an object of quiet veneration, a living testament to the divine order that governed all things. Furthermore, the very act of peeling an onion, layer by layer, with its distinct aroma and the revelation of each new surface, could be seen as a powerful metaphor for revealing deeper truths, for stripping away the superficial and the transient, to reach the profound, unchanging core essence of being. This resonated deeply with their spiritual practices, which often involved complex rituals, intros. Given its profound symbolic weight, with its concentric layers speaking of eternal cycles, it was only natural that the humble onion ascended from mere sustenance to a sacred offering, finding its place directly within the solemn rituals of the ancient Egyptian temples. For the Egyptians, the act of giving was a fundamental part of their relationship with the divine, a gesture of gratitude, devotion, and a plea for continued favor. And in this sacred exchange, the onion, with its powerful life force and symbolic meaning, became a favored gift. Imagine the quiet solemnity within the great stone halls of a temple dedicated to Ra, the mighty sun god, or to Osiris, the lord of the underworld. Priests with shaven heads and immaculate white linen moved with measured steps through the cool, shadowed corridors. Their hands, ritually purified, would carefully arrange offerings on sacred tables or altars. Among bowls of fresh fruit, fragrant loaves of bread, and jars of precious oils, you would often find carefully peeled onions, their white and translucent flesh gleaming softly in the dim light of flickering oil lamps. These were not merely agricultural products, they were potent symbols, presented with the deepest reverence. To Ra, the creator and sustainer of all life, onions were offered to symbolize the daily cycle of renewal and rebirth, mirroring the sun's journey across the sky and its triumphant return each dawn. their very essence, which seemed to contain a hidden vitality, was seen as a fitting tribute to a deity who brought warmth and light into the world. To Osiris, who embodied resurrection and the promise of life after death, the onion's layers spoke directly of eternal existence, of a soul shedding its earthly form only to be reborn in another. It represented the cyclical nature of existence, a concept central to their understanding of the cosmos and the journey beyond the veil of mortality. The strong, distinctive aroma of the onion may also have played a role in its ritual use. In many ancient cultures, pungent plants were believed to possess purifying properties, capable of warding off evil spirits or cleansing a space before divine interaction. While not explicitly stated in all texts, it is plausible that the onion's sharpness was seen as a way to clear the air, both literally and spiritually, preparing the sacred precinct for the presence of the gods. The act of offering something so vital, so full of inherent energy, was believed to strengthen the bond between humanity and the divine, ensuring the continued prosperity of the land and its people. These offerings were not isolated events, but often integrated into the daily routines of temple worship. Priests would perform elaborate ceremonies, reciting hymns and prayers as they presented these gifts. The pharaoh himself, as the chief intermediary between gods and men, would preside over the most important rituals, symbolizing the entire nation's devotion. In grand processions, you might see baskets laden with onions carried alongside other precious goods, destined for the temple treasuries and, ultimately, for the divine altars. This consistent presence in religious life underscores the onion's elevated status, transcending its role as a mere food item to become a conduit for spiritual connection. Beyond the main temples, onions were also likely used in more personal acts of devotion, at household shrines, or during smaller community rituals. A farmer, grateful for a bountiful harvest, might offer a portion of his onions to a local deity, believing that this simple act would secure future blessings. A family seeking healing for a loved one might present onions, imbued with their known medicinal properties, as an offering to a god of healing, hoping to invoke divine intervention. The onion's accessibility to all social strata meant that it was a truly democratic offering, available to the humblest peasant as well as the mightiest pharaoh, allowing everyone to participate in the sacred economy of giving. The act of presenting an onion was thus far more than a simple exchange. It was a profound declaration of faith. It was a recognition of the onion's inherent life force, a mirroring of the divine order, and a symbol of the continuous cycle of life, death, and rebirth that permeated every aspect of ancient Egyptian thought. The very act of preparing and offering these bulbs, perhaps with a quiet prayer whispered into the air, connected the individual to the vast, unseen forces that governed their world. It was a tangible expression of their belief in eternity, a small, humble bulb serving as a powerful link between the mortal and the immortal realms. This deep integration into religious practice solidified the onion's place not just in their diet, but in the very heart of their spiritual existence. The onion, with its profound symbolism of life, cyclical renewal, and eternity, did not merely serve the living or appease the gods in their grand temples. It also became an indispensable companion to the deceased on their final, most sacred journey, bridging the world of the living with the mysterious and often perilous realm of the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians held a deeply ingrained belief that death was not an ultimate cessation, but rather a profound transition, a vital passage to a new and eternal existence. For this momentous journey, they understood that the departed required meticulous preparation, robust protection, and symbolic provisions. And within this intricate tapestry of funerary rites, the humble onion assumed a surprisingly significant and revered role. Archaeological discoveries, spanning centuries of meticulous excavation, have consistently provided compelling and tangible evidence of the onion's ubiquitous presence in ancient Egyptian tombs, ranging from the most modest, unmarked graves of common folk to the most elaborate and grand resting places of powerful pharaohs and high-ranking nobles. When modern Egyptologists, with their careful hands and discerning eyes, systematically uncovered and examined these ancient burial sites, they found onions not merely as scattered or accidental remnants, but often meticulously preserved and deliberately placed, indicating a profound and undeniable ritualistic purpose. These were not incidental inclusions. They were, without question, essential and sacred elements of the burial ensemble, integral to the very act of passage and the hope for what lay beyond. One of the most striking and evocative findings concerns the mummies themselves, the preserved bodies intended to house the returning spirit. Onions, or more commonly, the desiccated remnants of them, have been discovered in remarkably specific and symbolically charged locations on the mummified remains. For example, it was not uncommon for small, carefully prepared onions to be placed directly within the empty eye sockets of the deceased. This practice was believed to serve multiple purposes, perhaps as symbolic prosthetic eyes, allowing the deceased to perceive and navigate the ethereal landscapes of the afterlife, or more broadly, to provide a potent form of magical protection for these vital sensory organs against unseen dangers. In other instances, onions were meticulously discovered within the ear canals, a placement that suggests an intention to safeguard the sense of hearing, thereby ensuring the deceased's ability to perceive the divine pronouncements or the subtle sounds of the underworld, preparing them for judgments or guidance. Furthermore, on occasion, onions were even found carefully placed within the eviscerated body cavities, inserted during the complex and lengthy mummification process itself. This internal placement was likely attributed to their perceived purifying and powerful preservative qualities, believed to ward off the insidious forces of decay and malevolent spiritual influences that might threaten the integrity of the body, which was considered crucial for the soul's eventual return. The most famous and well-documented example of this specific funerary application comes from the examination of the mummy of Pharaoh Ramesses IV, a ruler of the 20th dynasty who reigned in the early 12th century BCE. When his royal mummy was meticulously unwrapped and studied by archaeologists, they made a fascinating discovery. Small, perfectly preserved onions were found not only in his eye sockets and ear canals, echoing the practices observed in other mummies, but they were also carefully and deliberately arranged on his feet and legs. This remarkably precise and ritualistic placement suggests a profound symbolic meaning, perhaps intended to provide spiritual energy, strength, or specialized protection for the pharaoh's arduous and sacred journey through the Duat, the ancient Egyptian underworld. This was not merely a physical journey, but a spiritual one, fraught with challenges and requiring every possible aid to achieve successful rebirth. The onion's inherent layered structure, perpetually forming new rings from within, would have been particularly potent for a pharaoh, whose very existence and divine status were intricately linked to the stability, continuation, and cyclical renewal of the cosmic order. Thus, the onion became a tangible and powerful representation of their deepest hope for perpetual existence and triumphant resurrection, a physical manifestation of an abstract spiritual yearning. The ancient Egyptians consistently regarded the onion as a powerful agent against various illnesses and the natural processes of decay in daily life. And these highly valued properties were naturally and logically extended to their most profound beliefs about death and the transition beyond. They firmly believed that the onion's characteristic pungent aroma and its inherent, almost palpable strength could effectively repel malevolent spirits and demonic entities that might seek to harm the deceased soul or body. Furthermore, they held that the onion possessed an intrinsic ability to purify the departed, ensuring a smooth, unhindered, and unblemished passage into the afterlife. It was widely thought that by placing onions strategically with the dead, the physical body would be preserved in a state suitable for the soul's eventual return, and simultaneously, the immortal soul would be safeguarded on its perilous journey through the shadowy realms of the dead until it could successfully reunite with its earthly vessel and achieve the ultimate goal, eternal life and divine rebirth. This belief was not merely a superstition, it was a cornerstone of their profound faith in the continuity of existence. This widespread and deeply observed practice of including onions in burial rituals powerfully underscores the vegetable's universal acceptance and profound importance across all strata of ancient Egyptian society. It was emphatically not a luxury or an exclusive privilege reserved solely for the wealthy elite or the royal family. Rather, its potent symbolic power transcended all social classes and economic distinctions, a testament to its deep integration into the collective consciousness. From the humblest common laborer, whose life was one of relentless toil, to the mighty and divinely appointed Pharaoh, who commanded vast empires, all were accompanied by the humble yet spiritually potent onion into the next world. Its consistent and widespread presence in virtually every ancient tomb, irrespective of the deceased occupant's social status or wealth, speaks volumes about a shared cultural belief in its inherent protective, purifying, and regenerative powers. It was, in essence, a simple, unassuming bulb, yet it carried the immense weight of humanity's most profound hopes and most ancient fears regarding mortality, and the elusive promise of immortality. The inclusion of onions in these elaborate funerary rituals was therefore far more than a mere custom or an archaic tradition. It was a deeply ingrained spiritual act, an essential component of their religious worldview. It eloquently reflected the Egyptians' holistic and integrated view of life and death, where the physical realm and the spiritual dimension were perceived as inextricably linked and interdependent. The onion, a seemingly simple vegetable that provided essential sustenance and vital healing in the daily routines of life, transformed itself into a critical and silent guardian, a vital companion in death, symbolizing the enduring hope for rebirth and perpetual existence in the hallowed land of the gods. Its consistent and thoughtful presence in these ancient silent tombs offers us a quiet yet profoundly insightful glimpse into the very heart of ancient Egyptian beliefs, revealing just how deeply intertwined their mundane daily lives were with their grand understanding of the cosmos, the divine order, and the eternal journey that lay beyond the veil of earthly existence. The onion was truly a bridge between worlds, connecting the mortal and the immortal, the earthly and the divine. You might imagine, then, that such a foundational plant, so entwined with the very breath of life and the hopes of eternity, would remain solely within the grasp of the common people, the diligent laborers whose sweat built the monuments and tilled the fertile lands. You might think that the pharaohs, with their tables laden with exotic fruits, fine meats, and rare delicacies, would have no need for something so simple, so earthy, as the onion. But this was not the case. The onion, in its unassuming form, transcended the rigid social strata of ancient Egypt, proving its worth and reverence across all levels of society, from the lowest peasant to the highest ruler. Its pervasive presence meant that it was consumed daily, not only by the farmers and the artisans who shaped the land and its resources, by the soldiers who protected the borders and the stonecutters who carved the very fabric of their civilization, but also, quite remarkably, by the highest echelons of society. Even the pharaohs, the living gods on earth, the embodiment of cosmic order and divine authority, incorporated onions into their sophisticated daily lives and elaborate banquets. This was not merely a matter of taste, though the pungency and distinct flavor of the onion were undoubtedly appreciated and utilized in various culinary preparations, adding zest to stews, roasted meats, and even simple bread. Its inclusion was a profound testament to the plant's deeply ingrained cultural significance and its universally perceived benefits that were considered vital for the well-being of all, including the divine ruler, for the pharaohs and their immediate families, for the high priests who communed with the gods, and for the powerful viziers, the chief ministers who managed the vast empire. The onion represented far more than just a source of basic nutrition. It was consumed for the very same compelling health reasons that made it an indispensable component of the common laborer's diet. Its perceived power to ward off illness, to purify the body from within, and to maintain an unwavering state of vitality and strength. In a world where medical knowledge was inextricably intertwined with spiritual beliefs, where the health and vigor of the ruler were considered absolutely paramount to the stability and prosperity of the entire kingdom, any substance believed to confer robust health and prevent debilitating disease was held in the highest regard. The onion, with its well-documented and widely accepted medicinal properties, would have been an obvious and essential inclusion in the royal diet, a daily safeguard against the myriad unseen threats to health. Furthermore, the consumption of onions by the elite and royal family was also a powerful reflection of deep-seated tradition and continuity. The ancient customs and time-honored practices that had sustained their ancestors for millennia were not easily discarded, even by those with access to boundless wealth and unprecedented luxury. The onion, in this context, was more than just a food item. It was a tangible link to the past, a potent symbol of enduring wisdom and the unwavering continuity of their forebears. Its consistent inclusion in royal meals reinforced an unbreakable connection to the very land of Egypt itself, to its ancient agricultural roots that stretched back to the dawn of civilization, and to the sustained prosperity that the annual flooding of the Nile so reliably provided. It was a food that, in a very real sense, literally embodied the resilient spirit of their civilization, a humble yet mighty staple that had fed countless generations and allowed their magnificent empire to flourish and stand tall for thousands of years. The act of eating an onion was, for a pharaoh, a daily affirmation of his connection to the very essence of his land and his people, a grounding ritual amidst the splendor of his court. Beyond its undeniable health benefits and its profound traditional importance, the potent symbolic weight of the onion also played a significant and often overlooked role in its unwavering acceptance at the very highest levels of Egyptian society. The concentric rings, as you now understand, were seen as a powerful representation of eternity, the cyclical nature of life, the never-ending rebirth, and the profound promise of resurrection. For a pharaoh, whose very existence was intimately tied to the sacred concept of divine kingship, and whose ultimate goal was a successful and glorious transition into the afterlife and eternal communion with the gods, the daily consumption of a food imbued with such profound and powerful symbolism would have been a deliberate, conscious, and deeply meaningful act. It was a silent personal affirmation of their intricate belief system, a quiet, daily ritual that connected them intimately to the cosmic order they were meant to embody, uphold, and guide on earth. The onion, therefore, was not merely a simple foodstuff consumed for sustenance. It was a daily reminder of their sacred duty, their divine connection, and their eternal aspirations, a tangible link between the earthly throne and the celestial realm. Its quiet, unassuming presence on the pharaoh's opulent table was a solemn acknowledgment of the universal truths it represented, linking the earthly ruler to the divine cycles of existence and the promise of unending life in the field of reeds. The onion's journey from the simple, sun-baked fields where common laborers toiled tirelessly under the fierce Egyptian sun to the intricately painted chambers and cool, deeply shaded courtyards of the pharaoh's palace was not a transformation from humble to refined, but rather one of universal, unwavering acceptance. It was a food that effortlessly transcended the often rigid social strata of the deep reverence and constant presence of the onion in ancient Egyptian life are not merely subjects of speculation. They are meticulously documented, etched into the very fabric of their surviving records. You can trace its story through a wealth of historical evidence, from the crisp papyrus sheets that held their wisdom to the vibrant pigments of tomb paintings that captured their daily existence, and even the dry, brittle pages of their medical texts. These ancient documents serve as undeniable proof of the onion's pervasive importance, offering you a unique window into the minds and practices of a civilization that considered this humble bulb a cornerstone of their existence. Consider, for instance, the extensive medical papyri, which are among the most remarkable surviving testaments to ancient Egyptian scientific observation. Among the most famous is the Ebers Papyrus, a vast compendium of medical knowledge dating back to around 1550 BC. Within its delicate yet enduring hieratic script, you find numerous recipes and remedies where the onion plays a central, often indispensable role. It was not just a minor ingredient used for flavor. It was frequently prescribed as a primary component for treating a surprisingly wide array of afflictions. For digestive issues, such as bloating or indigestion, the onion was seen as a powerful carminative, believed to help expel gas and soothe discomfort. For respiratory complaints, particularly persistent coughs, asthma, or the common cold, its pungent vapors and internal consumption were thought to clear passages and aid breathing, providing relief from congestion. The Egyptians, through generations of keen observation and empirical experimentation, understood that the onion possessed natural antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties long before modern science could explain the precise biochemical mechanisms at play. They utilized it topically to dress wounds, to draw out infection, and to soothe the irritation from insect bites. Its diuretic properties were also recognized, making it a component in remedies aimed at cleansing the body and promoting urinary health. The meticulous instructions for preparing these onion-based remedies, whether the bulb was to be crushed, boiled, steeped, or mixed with other ingredients like honey or beer, speak to a profound, almost scientific approach to herbal medicine and a deep-seated trust in the onion's healing capabilities. These texts weren't just theoretical. They were practical manuals, guiding physicians and healers in their daily practice, demonstrating a consistent reliance on the onion as a fundamental therapeutic agent. Beyond the realm of medicine, the onion's significance is further illuminated in administrative and economic papyri. These often overlooked documents provide a glimpse into the logistical backbone of the Egyptian state. You will find the onion frequently listed as a staple ration for vast numbers of laborers, particularly those toiling on monumental construction projects like the pyramids and grand temples. Imagine the sheer scale of the workforce involved day after day, hauling immense stone blocks, quarrying granite, and sculpting colossal statues under the relentless Egyptian sun. Their sustenance needed to be efficient, highly nutritious, and easily stored and distributed. The onion, with its robust nature, natural resistance to spoilage, and long shelf life, provided essential vitamins, minerals, and a quick burst of energy, making it an indispensable part of their daily diet. These detailed records confirm that the common worker, the very backbone of the Pharaohs' empire, depended on this humble bulb for their strength, endurance, and overall well-being. It was a caloric and nutritional anchor, ensuring the physical capacity and sustained effort required for the continuation of their arduous and historically significant work. The inclusion of onions in these official records elevates its status from mere food to a strategic commodity, crucial for the functioning of the entire societal machinery. Then there are the tomb paintings, silent, vibrant witnesses to a civilization's beliefs, daily rituals, and aspirations for the afterlife. As you gaze upon the carefully preserved murals within the tombs of nobles, high officials, and pharaohs, you will often find clear and deliberate depictions of onions. They are portrayed with their characteristic concentric layers, sometimes neatly bundled in offerings, sometimes piled in abundance within granaries, or even depicted as fresh produce laid out on banquet tables. These visual records are not merely decorative flourishes. They are profoundly symbolic. Their frequent presence in offering scenes where food and goods are presented to deities or the deceased underscores their profound spiritual significance, reinforcing their role as vital components in rituals meant to appease the gods, ensure a prosperous journey through the underworld, and guarantee resurrection in the afterlife. In scenes depicting banquets, you might see onions meticulously arranged alongside other foods, confirming their universal place as a culinary staple enjoyed by all social strata, from the simplest family meal to the grandest royal feast. The ancient Egyptian artists, with their precise and detailed brushstrokes, captured the onion not just as an item of sustenance, but as an object imbued with deep cultural and spiritual importance, its presence always intentional and deeply meaningful. Furthermore, archaeological discoveries consistently and powerfully corroborate these textual and visual records. When excavating ancient Egyptian sites, particularly burial grounds and necropolises, archaeologists frequently unearth physical remains of onions, sometimes remarkably well preserved due to Egypt's arid climate. These aren't just accidental inclusions, remnants of a last meal. They're deliberate placement, often near or even directly on the mummified bodies themselves, provides tangible and irrefutable evidence of their profound funerary significance. The discovery of intact onion bulbs within the chest cavities of mummies, sometimes even in the eye sockets, or as garlands of onion fragments carefully placed around the neck, abdomen, or other parts of the body, speaks volumes. For example, in the tomb of Ramesses IV, onions were found placed in his eye sockets, believed by some scholars to give clarity of vision in the afterlife. Other theories suggest their strong scent was meant to ward off evil spirits, or their layers symbolized eternal life and the cyclical nature of rebirth. These practices were clearly rooted in the belief that the onion's symbolic properties, its multi-layered structure representing eternity and cyclical existence, and its pungent nature perhaps warding off negative forces, would accompany the deceased on their perilous journey into the afterlife, providing protection, spiritual sustenance, and ensuring their eventual resurrection. The physical presence of the onion in these most sacred and intimate of contexts bridges the gap between abstract belief and concrete ritualistic practice, showing you that the Egyptians acted upon their deepest convictions with tangible, ritualized actions. The sheer volume, diversity, and consistency of this evidence, from the medicinal prescriptions of the Ebers Papyrus that detail its healing power, to the administrative ration lists for pyramid builders that highlight its economic importance, and the detailed funerary adornments and tomb paintings that confirm its spiritual role, paint a remarkably cohesive and compelling picture. They reveal a society that did not just consume onions out of necessity or taste. They understood, revered, and integrated the bulb into almost every facet of their existence, from the mundane to the sacred. It was a food, a potent medicine, a profound spiritual symbol, and an integral part of their very identity and enduring civilization. This comprehensive documentation allows us to reconstruct a vivid and remarkably nuanced understanding of why the onion held such an unparalleled and enduring position in the hearts and minds of the ancient Egyptians, from the humblest peasant to the most powerful pharaoh. It was a testament to their practicality, their empirical wisdom, and their enduring belief in the profound interconnectedness of the natural world and the spiritual realms that lay beyond. The journey of the humble onion through the vast span of ancient Egyptian civilization reveals a truth far more profound than its simple form might suggest. It was not merely a vegetable, a common crop grown in the rich, fertile soil along the banks of the mighty Nile. Instead, you have come to understand that this unassuming bulb was a true cornerstone of their existence, that quiet yet remarkably powerful force, meticulously woven into the very fabric of their society. From the sun-baked, bustling fields where it was cultivated with care to the quiet, dignified meals of the working families, and indeed, even to the gilded, opulent halls of the Pharaohs, the onion held a place of unparalleled significance. You have learned how this resilient bulb provided an indispensable source of sustenance, fueling the incredible strength and unwavering endurance required for the monumental tasks that defined the age. Imagine the common laborers, the artisans, and the builders toiling beneath the relentless Egyptian sun, constructing the colossal pyramids and the magnificent temples. For these industrious individuals, the daily inclusion of onions in their diet was not a matter of preference, but a vital necessity. It delivered the raw, unyielding energy and the essential nutrients that sustained their arduous work, allowing them to carve history into stone day after tireless day. Its sharp, distinct flavor was a familiar and comforting presence, a taste of home and a guarantee of strength in a world that demanded constant physical exertion. Beyond its crucial role as a food source, the ancient Egyptians possessed a deep and intuitive understanding of the onion's remarkable medicinal properties. They did not view it merely as an ingredient. They saw it as a potent remedy, a natural healer provided by the earth itself. Its pungent essence, its layered structure, and its inherent vitality were all believed to contribute to its powerful curative effects. For common ailments, from the most minor discomforts to more serious internal complaints, the onion was